Hey boo, and welcome back to the Karleigh Show. I am so freaking excited that you are here. This is where you are going to find all things abuse recovery, including tips to get out, prevention education to prevent you from getting yourself stuck in this situation, and tips and tricks to build your mindset and the skill of confidence. I'm so excited that you are here. Today, we're going to be talking about hoovering. Now, trust me, I get it. I genuinely thought that this was just a vacuum cleaner, but this actual technique that is used by the abuser, it was named after the vacuum cleaner. So once I found that out, I definitely was able to make the connection, and I'm really excited to share this with you because this is super important information. After all of that, what the heck is hoovering anyway? Hoovering, in a nutshell, is what the abuser will do after you leave the relationship in order to, here it comes, suck you back in. You see the vacuum reference pulled in there? Now, this is something that I particularly experienced after I left my boyfriend when I was 17 years old. I was in an aggressively physically abusive relationship at 17, and I eventually, enough was enough, and I left. At the time, I was like, whatever, this is gonna hurt, but I know it's better for me. Literally 5 minutes after I got home, my phone was exploding with texts. Back in the day, we had flip phones, and these flip phones had a basic number keyboard, right? And for whatever reason, my ex found out a way to spam my phone with like 15 messages at a time, and he would do that over and over to the point that my phone was like so overwhelmed that it crashed. This was not the first time that he had done this, but this is the first time that he had done it with I love yous and I'm sorries. And of course, I couldn't leave well enough alone. And so I messaged him back after I brought my phone back after hours. And I told him, look, I get that you're upset, but we're done. This isn't going anywhere. And of course, that's when the switch flipped. And he became the proverbial perfect boyfriend. Now, I in no way was going to get sucked back into this, so I was on high alert. I forced myself to hold back, to not respond to him right away, to not really allow him back, and to not accept him back as my boyfriend. However, slowly but surely, he became everything that I wanted. He took me out to dinner. He took me to the movies. You know, he wanted to have big romantic meals, and we danced together to Hey There Delilah in the YMCA parking lot because he was upset that he couldn't go to prom with me. That was a whole ordeal. But basically, he full on sucked me back in. I was hooked. Now I was like, okay, maybe things are different now. Maybe things really will change. Well, I found out a few weeks later that he had actually been dating someone else. And when called out, when this was told to him, his response was, I never cheated on you. I just never got around to breaking up with you. So in this case, he literally sucked me back in just so he could have the upper hand. And so he could harass me and stalk me for the next year and a half. But in this case, it was done just so he could say that he dumped me and that it wasn't the other way around. First off, I would love to know, does this resonate with you? Is this something that you went through? If so, obviously from my story, I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not stupid for getting sucked back in. This is a psychological maneuver to prey on your already overexhausted brain, but I'll get to that in a second. So now that we kind of understand what hoovering is and how they use it to suck us back in, we're going to take a look at what this looks like in different scenarios and how to recognize it and how to fight back. Let's get into it. Now, the psychological definition by Psychology Today is where the abusive narcissist tries to seduce and convince the victim to return to the abusive relationship from which she or he had previously escaped. So basically, someone gets out and they want to make sure that they pull you back in because, again, they always have to have the upper hand. In my particular case, in this relationship, I wasn't pulled back in for any other reason than for a power play, right? So that way he could feel like he was on top of me and he had the power. But it doesn't always end that way. A lot of the times you get sucked back in, and then after a couple of months or even weeks or days, they are right back to their abusive behaviors. Now that we know all of that, why does hoovering work? Why do we fall for this? Why do we get sucked back in? And as I mentioned earlier, this is a psychological manipulative tactic to prey on your already overexhausted brain. Think about it. They don't use phrases like, it's not like I didn't hit you or get over it. They're not using overtly manipulative terms here because they're aware that you're aware that you deserve better. And the moment that they realize that you recognize that you deserve better, they begin to panic, because when you take your power back, they lose all of theirs. And so they have to do whatever they need to do in order to get you to come back and get back under their control. So they go from this gaslighting and blatant manipulation to basically a scripted response of what they know you want to hear. You're right. You deserve so much better. I'm sorry. I love you too much to lose you. I promise I'm going to get better. Look, I get it. I called a therapist, okay? I have an appointment tomorrow. I promise I'm going to do this for you. I know you're mad at me, but I have a dinner reservation this Friday at your favorite restaurant, and I had booked it a while ago because I know that you love it. And please, would you come for me? Would you at least just come to this date? That's all I ask. Just come to dinner with me. They play into the fact that they hurt you, and they want to act like they're aware of what they did hurt you because they're aware that what they did hurt you. By acknowledging that they're the problem, it gives you this glimmer of hope. You're like, oh my gosh, maybe this is it. Maybe he finally changed. Maybe this is actually happening. They do this when you're the weakest, when you're the most exhausted, because once you finally get out of an abusive relationship, if you've watched my prior videos on abuse in the brain and trauma bonding, these things, it literally exhausts your brain. And by getting out of an abusive relationship, you are fighting against your own biological tendency to stay. So when you do leave, you are exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally. And that is where they attack you, because they know that you don't have the energy to completely fight back. They're going to do whatever they can to prey on your weaknesses. Okay, so Karleigh, that's all fine and good and really depressing. Now that I know what hoovering is and I recognize it happened to me, how do I prevent it from happening again? How do I fight back? The first step to fighting back is becoming aware of what they're doing. When you're in an abusive relationship, your brain, as mentioned, is exhausted. You are tired. It is becoming more and more difficult for your brain to think logically, to think critically about what has happened. Our brain naturally leans towards thinking about those honeymoon moments, the reason that we stayed. And so when you're out and they're saying all those pretty words, your brain naturally wants you to get pulled back in. This is mostly because you want to believe it so much that you're not truly aware of what's actually happening. When you're aware, now that you know, you already have a weapon and an upper hand against the abuser. Because now that you're aware, there is a seed of awareness in your brain, which makes it more difficult for your brain to try to justify what's happening. And this is a question I always get. But Karleigh, what if he's serious this time? What if he's actually going to change? What if I don't go back and I miss out on someone great? The answer to this is in two parts. And I want you to know that I say this with the utmost grace and the utmost understanding. They're relying on you to feel that way. They're going to tell you how special and beautiful and wonderful and amazing and all of these wonderful adjectives that you wanted to hear for so long. They're going to say that to you, because that's what they know you want to hear. But the fact remains is that if there is no consistent work happening, he's not changing and he's not different. Here is the second part. All right. And I'm going to be seriously real with you here. If he's actually sincere, if he actually means it, if he's truly wanting to change, then honey, he's got work to do. Consistent work to do. He needs to get his ass into therapy. He needs to focus on these things. He needs to focus on growth. Or she, I say he naturally because that's what my experiences have been, but it could be he, she, or they, whichever it is. Everyone's capable of being an abuser and everyone's capable of being a victim. And the thing to remember with all of that is that one therapy session, one dinner, or even 1 month of being the perfect person isn't going to cut it. If he actually recognizes that he screwed up and he wants to change, it is on him to take a step back and say, look, babe, I care about you and I'm going to prove to you that I need to change. So I'm going to go work on me. And then after I've proved this for a while, we'll have this conversation again and I will show you how I've changed. This could be months, years later. But the truth is, and I know that that hurts, and I know that that's not the most fun answer to hear. The truth is if that thought process doesn't happen, he's not truly going to change. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't want to change. If someone has abused you, whether that's emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, however it happened, they have work to do. And if they want to change, they need to care about you enough to step away and go heal on their own. And then if your paths cross in the future, then maybe it'll work. And the only reason I say that is not to give false hope, but to speak to the woman who so desperately wants to believe that her husband's going to change. I want to speak to the person that so desperately believes that the person that they love will finally grow and change for them. I understand that there are exceptions to the rule. I understand that some people truly do want to change, but I also want to give you realistic expectations, because chances are they're not going to, and no one's going to change unless they truly want in their soul to change. And if you have been on the receiving end of this abuse, then you also have work to do. Not saying that you're a bad person, but no, we've got to work on healing what's happened to you. We got to work on healing your brain. We've got to work on recovering from that, right? So even if you truly believe that your person wants to change, it is up to you both to step away and work on yourselves. And again, if you come together in the future, okay, maybe, but you've got to go work on you. But with all of that being said, I need you to hear me. So first, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Relax your shoulders. Now I'm going to say something and you are not going to like it, but I need you to brace with me anyway. Okay, I need you to hear me out. The absolute best way to fight hoovering is to go no contact. Yes, no contact at all under any circumstances. Block this person on all social media, block those phone numbers. Back in the day, we had to pay to block phone numbers. Now it's just as easy. It's already integrated into our phone. If we don't want to get a phone call, a text message, a snap, a tweet, a Facebook message, an Instagram message, a LinkedIn connection, we just have to block, right? It's blocked. And that is the best, safest way to avoid getting sucked back in. And the next thing I want you to do after blocking, or even before blocking, so you have a support system, is to get a solid support system. Get someone who understands and is not going to judge you. Get someone who you're able to be completely honest and open with, to have your back when you want to unblock that phone number, or when you want to respond, or if you didn't block fast enough and they text you and you really, really want to text back. Have a support system in place that's going to keep you on track and in check. This is someone that's been a complete lifesaver for me. I have two friends on deck that I can message at any time. One of my friends gets a ton of Instagram audio message, and the other one gets 1,000,001 Snapchats. Because when I want to reach back out or I'm struggling, I reach out to them instead. I still get the sensation of getting a message, and I still get the ability to communicate with someone, but I also get that feedback of non-judgmental accountability, where they remind me who I am, what I'm worth. They remind me how strong and capable I am. They remind me how beautiful and strong and intelligent I am, so I don't go back to what already hurt me. Having a support system like that in place is so powerful. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone you know in person. It could be in a Facebook group. It could be on social media. If you need someone, hit me up on my DMs, Karleigh.Lynn on Instagram. My link is in the show description. If you need someone to reach out to, I'm your girl. I will help you find an accountability partner. I will help you do these things because it is so important. Now, as far as co-parenting goes, this is extremely difficult, and trust me, I get it. When it comes to co-parenting, you can't just block on all social media and remove the ability to contact them at all. But what you can do is set super strong boundaries and stick to those boundaries with your support system in tow. What do I mean by that? Make it to where they can contact you only via text message. If you want to do a WhatsApp, so that way it's not your actual phone number, then you can do that. But block them on all social media, block them on, block them on everything except for the one communication channel. I understand the one communication channel is important, especially when your kiddo's with the other person. Again, this is something I understand very, very well. Having that one communication channel, you keep the conversation strictly about the kids. It's business talk only, right? It's only I'm on my way to pick up the kids. I'm here to pick up the kids. Whatever it is, it's platonic, it's dry, and that's all you say. You don't make conversation. There's no, hey, how are you? There's none of that. It's only about the kids. If they talk about anything other than the kids, you can either choose to ignore them or just bring up the kids again and keep it very flat. Unfortunately, this makes it more difficult for us not to get sucked back in, but it just gives us more of an ability to flex our muscles, right? It gives us more of an ability to show how strong we are by not going back. This is so important. And again, lean on that support system. When you want to reach out and tell him how much of a moron he is, or if she pisses you off and you want to go tell her how much of an expletive she is, go tell your girlfriends instead. Go tell your group of guys in the back. Go tell your Facebook group. Whatever it is, have someone to get that emotion out to without saying it to the abuser. Again, keeping it as flat as possible. You don't express any emotion, either it's frustration or happiness. Have someone else to express that to. Have that support system ready to go, but do not get sucked into non-kiddo conversation. One last thing I want to talk about here is something else that I get a lot, which is, oh, but Karleigh, I feel so bad. Like, I don't want to just ignore him. Oh, baby girl, why did you leave? Did you leave because he cared too much about your feelings? Did you leave because he was so supportive and made you feel safe and comfortable? Or did you leave because he hurt you? Now, I know that that's a really blunt way of saying that, but so often, again, our brains are naturally wired to lean towards those honeymoon moments. And if we get stuck in those want to has been fantasies that we have about the abuse that we endured, we're going to get sucked back in. And this is a good life lesson in general, okay? I am not saying to go out and be a butthole, but overall, if they did not care about your feelings, if they don't care about disrespecting you, if they don't care about hurting you, there's no reason for you to worry about their feelings. If you don't put yourself first right now, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. The concept of hoovering is sick at best and absolutely detrimental at worst. If you suspect that this is happening to you right now, my biggest suggestion is to get your support group, get in there and block ASAP. Go no contact. No explanation, no last chance to talk it out, no big goodbye. Just go no contact and be done. You need to make yourself inaccessible and put your safety first. Whether that's mental safety, physical safety, emotional safety, spiritual safety. You have to consider that first. I know it's easier said than done, but boo, you are capable of this. You are strong enough for this. You've got this. If you have any questions, comments, experiences you want to share, drop them in the comments below or come over and hang out with me on Instagram at karleigh.lynn. My DMs are always open and I am in my inbox every single day. And also, if you want more tips like this, more abuse recovery advice, tips, tricks, prevention, education, to make sure that you hit the subscribe button, because every week, twice a week on Saturday and Monday, I am dropping brand new videos that are going to help you get out, get recovered, and go after the life that you deserve. Never forget that you are strong, you are capable, you are intelligent, and you are so dang worthy.